Voices Radio.
Hello, I'm Benedict Gibbon. Welcome to Visionary Voices on Voices Radio here in Coldrops Yard, King's Cross. I'm very happy to be joined today by the one and only Mr. Emmanuel Unaji. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, no, I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having us.
It's an absolute pleasure. For those of you who don't know, Emmanuel describes himself predominantly as a fine artist, and that is a fine description, although I would say you've got your numbers in quite a lot of other different pies as well. So for those of you who don't know, give us a sort of a summary about who you are and where you come from, and what is it you do?
Yeah, no, of course. So yeah, I'm Emmanuel Unaji. I guess a fine artist, really specialising in like the visual arts. So I think things start like on paper, and I guess the concepts that go on paper just translate into like a range of different things: fashion, art direction, creative direction. Fashion here.
I can see you've got this in Lemuel, your brother and your business partner also rocking your gear here.
The pieces.
Yeah, representing. Love that.
Yeah, so I think it's also I guess that age-old quote of like the creative adult is the child who survived. So I guess we're kind of fortunate enough to be creative in like a range of disciplines, like kind of having a philosophy from art and then translating that into like a range of projects.
The creative adult is the child who survived. I love this. In preparation for this interview, I watched quite a lot of your stuff online and sort of interviews with you and stuff that you put out. And you do have these sort of great sort of quotations. You've got these one-liners, which you've got some absolute bangers. I've got one written down. The production is consistent, but subjects are interchangeable.
Oh, wow.
I loved that.
No. Thank you, man.
You've got lots of that. I really, really dig your vibe.
No, I appreciate
and
that,
there's a wide range of stuff that I really want to get around to in limited time.
Bless.
So first of all, I'd just like to shout out to one of our sponsors here at Voices, Moth. Cocktails in a can. I've got a mojito here. What have you got?
I've got an old fashioned.
And what you got back there? You've got a margarita. So we're going to pop one of these. It is. I should just qualify. It's about 10 o'clock at night. So no day drinking going on here. Cheers very much.
Bless.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. No, this is impressive. I can't lie. Old fashioned in a can.
So, originally, we're going to just talk about this very briefly because we're going to do a larger piece on this separately. But the reason I sort of got into contact with you is because of your involvement in the Creative Land Trust.
Yeah.
So, how is it that you came to be involved in that?
So I guess it's like a long trail of events, but I'll start with so Peabody and then a lady called Sarah Tumble.
Yep.
Absolute amazing woman who's I guess works for a company called Workwell.
Yeah.
And great advocate for I guess just economic inclusion and opportunities. And I guess it was a situation where Creative Land Trust were looking for trustees at the time, but specifically artist trustees.
That's right.
So,
sorry, I should just clarify. I've done a bad job of explaining this. Creative Land Trust are a charity, a very cool organisation who arrange for workspaces for artists, but guaranteed over a long term.
Yeah.
Because a big problem in London, especially, and countries all over Europe and all over the world, is that you've got creative spaces being taken up, especially in central urban locations, by developers who want to use them for other purposes. So what these guys do, very cool, great mission, is to help preserve the future of these spaces. And Emmanuel is one of their ambassadors, their creative artist trustees.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Yeah, nice. And so I think to kind of be so obviously naturally went through the process, and it's been an amazing experience to I guess meet Gordon, the CEO, and all of the trustees.
Gordon Seabright, yeah.
Yeah. Shout out Gordon Seabright, absolute legend. And I think that's the mission. I think to really preserve creative culture in London, and I think it's definitely a concept that's going to expand nationally and internationally. But I think it was great to kind of connect, and I think ever since then, I guess from an artist perspective, I've been able to kind of help out wherever kind of possible.
I think it's what's so great about it, and the reason I sort of reached out to Gordon, to you, was because I think that's it's very similar to what we're trying to do here at Voices.
Yeah.
Because we are essentially a kind of small community radio station. We've been very lucky to have support from Argent and the people who provide the space to us for for very good rates, etc. But essentially what we're doing is trying to get as many people from a broader background as possible involved in creating and broadcasting and all sorts of things, getting people working in production, learning the ropes. This show, my show, particular Visionary Voices. If you look at the people who I've had on so far and the people I'm having on in future, I'm looking at a wide range of creative media. From filmmakers to composers to songwriters, and from all sorts of backgrounds, and just trying to show to people, doesn't matter where you're from. If you want to pursue a creative career, you can do it.
Most definitely.
And I think you and the work you've done really, really show that as well. I think that's really commendable.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I think like one thing that I'd massively say is, I guess, so I joined the Creative Lands Trust in 2020, and I think being exposed to that landscape on like a economic level massively impacted like my practice as well. And I think that like it was great to like I guess meet everyone on the board, but also just be aware of that conversation. I think for creatives and I think it really reinforced the importance of like community.
Absolutely.
Like when you're creating and like you
can't create in a vacuum.
No, most definitely. Like, I think space and people and it just added a different layer, especially because I graduated in 2020. So,
congratulations!
I think, no, thanks, man.
Where did to tell the people where did you graduate from?
So I went to Kingston University, first class honours. So
my man, big up, yeah, first class,
bless. Yeah. So it was a great experience. I think that was like that real kind of step up into like, okay, cool, this is the landscape, and I think being a beneficiary in terms of like even where to look studio wise, which was a challenge and a half.
It's strange, and the thing that we've been looking for sort of spaces to do more dedicated video production, is that it's kind of West London seems to be more affordable than East London right now, which is just bizarre. If you told me this sort of 10-15 years ago, I would have laughed in your face. But it's because it's where everyone wants to be.
Facts.
But it's an interesting thing. But Creative Land Trust doing a very cool thing. We're going to do a separate feature on this, a full feature, and Emmanuel's going to be a big part of that. So we'll move on from now and actually just focus on some of your stuff. I mean, obviously, we can see you're rocking some of your own designs here. And again, so let's start with some of that. So you are the co-founder, I'm assuming with you, of Unaji and Co.
Yeah. So co-founder. So I'm Emmanuel Unaji, Lemuel Unaji, that's my blood brother. Because I guess sometimes when people start brands, you kind of come up with a creative concept. Right. But we were really inspired by, I guess, like luxury brands like Gucci. Like, these are people's names. So it's like we thought we'd go for our last name, and I think that kind of just added a layer of like what we kind of put into it. So it's a combination of experiences, our inspirations, and heritage, and then it's like a melting pot.
Heritage being Nigerian.
British Nigerian. So I think it's that identity and like the duality of the identity, and I guess a lot of the work kind of features like split portraiture and different type of styles. So
can you explain to me what you mean by that, split portraiture?
So I think I guess I kind of came across that style in 2016, really heavily inspired by like Pablo Picasso and Yinka Shonobare, and I think just the duality of like facing as one thing, but then internally being something that's contrasting.
Right.
And I think that you can experience that on so many levels, like personally, socially, and I think it's been a real process in terms of like what faces that I kind of choose, and so like sometimes talking about celebrity culture, but in the same breath cultural figures and iconography, and just dissecting it. So I think that's really what that kind of split face really represents.
I think so. One thing you mention on your website is reverse engineering. You talk about dissecting and getting down to sort of looking at perceptions versus reality, and you say that that we all have a unique perspective on something that is objectively true or something that is creatively perfect.
Yeah,
which is interesting to me. Just as a sort of side note, because it's quite similar to sort of I studied philosophy at university.
Okay, here we go.
It's quite,
Lovely.
quite similar to sort of an idea sort of espoused by Friedrich Nietzsche, in that sort of perspectives. We all have our individual perspectives, but we could never actually have an understanding of the complete whole.
Yes.
So when I heard you say that, that really rung a bell for me.
Yeah, and literally, and I think it's. So I think what I always love is, I think with my work, what I like to do is I like to create a spectrum of like, you can experience it on purely like an aesthetic level, but then I always enjoy the academic like depth as well, in terms of like the philosophy behind it as well. So I think that's literally what it's about, in terms of I think on an individual level, like what we present as, and then what the we all have perceptions of reality, but then there's one kind of constant.
There may be an objective truth,
yes,
but none of us can know it, because in order to do that, we'd have to see every perspective from the same time, at the same time as one another, which we can't do.
And then I feel, in terms of like a little full circle, I guess that's the importance of community, because we're all like fragments of the same whole.
It's like a melting pot, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, facts.
Getting all those perspectives mixed together, and then you get a greater understanding of the whole.
Facts.
Absolutely.
So I think that's the real kind of symbolism of that kind of split face, and I think each collection, each body of work is part of. They're all jigsaw puzzles, and I think one day, and I think even if you go through the website, they all kind of interlink to like an overarching narrative. So
that's fascinating. And you've had I look at your website. The first thing that comes up is AKAA and the Paris Design Fair.
Yeah,
is one of your most recent projects? Is it?
Yeah. So that was really exciting. So it was like Akka.
Akka.
Yeah, no.
I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
Yeah, no. It took us a minute as well. So Art Fair in Paris is like an international fair, like literally galleries from all around the world. So we were fortunate enough to partner with Africa First, founded by Serge Taroche, who's like a fine art entrepreneur.
Is this a foundation?
Yeah, in terms of like the connection, and then like, so now we've gone out there and presented jackets and done a show.
That's right, the jackets, so the main stage thing there.
Yeah, and it was a real kind of experience. I think it was amazing to obviously present the clothing with fashion and models, and obviously Lemuel created the music and the soundscape.
You created the music. Is that your side of things? You're a music guy.
Music.
Music, film, a lot of the content, like the promotional assets to Emmanuel's practice.
Yeah. So
fantastic.
Then that's
like so you guys are like a combined, like you got more than the triple threat. You're like the whole package together. What we're going to do is I'm going to chuck some images up of sort of things related to, as we talk about things. So for Akka, the jackets, I'll throw these up on the edited video.
Yeah.
But there's some really cool stuff there.
Appreciate it.
Just ignore my phone telling me that it's time to go to bed. Yes, so there's that. The other things, obviously, you've got your fingers in quite a lot of pies. So what's the other main project you've got going on at the moment?
So I guess we're also working on like a documentary that we've been filming in partnership with Peabody Trust for like the last year, which is like a case study on I guess our journey essentially, which is really exciting. I guess Lemuel's main director on that. So I think it's been a real like process. So every project that everyone's kind of seen us do over 2022, it's like a real insight into like the process and the thinking, and I guess the economics behind creativity, as much as the intellectual depth that kind of goes into it as well.
Can you expand on that?
I think that like on many levels, even like so upcycling is something that we kind of did unintentionally, like just growing up, like it was just a thing, like thrift shopping.
You took stuff and you used it.
Literally. So I think
took what he had to hand, and
most definitely, and just being frugal and creative and innovating, and I think it's just developed. And I think with this project at Akka Paris, we used like luxury offcuts from like Diesel and different luxury brands.
Okay.
And I guess we did a exhibition with Blur Gallery in the Royal Exchange. So I think that's where.
Yes, I saw this on your website as well.
Yeah. So again, a phenomenal kind of moment of like artists coming together and using industrial like waste material
I
to
think
create.
as much as what you've done, I think the fact that you've actually gone out there and sort of and put all these connections together and made put together these partnerships is almost, if not as impressive, more impressive, because I think that a lot of artists, this is a struggle to go out there and do this. So can you walk me through sort of what makes it different? How have you put all these things together?
No, I appreciate that. I think it's a combination. I think sometimes you can could blag and sit here and be like, there's a master plan.
Yeah.
But then I think sometimes it really is like a feeling.
This is just confidence, do you think?
I think so, in terms of like kind of bringing two wires together and just not being afraid if it doesn't work. But I think just kind of being fearless in like mixing colours in a way. Like we look at, I guess one of our slogans is product as canvas. So it's like partnerships in a way are like paint. Like we just look at everything in that kind of playful way. It's like, oh wow, like imagine mixing that with that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, that's crazy. Then it's like, and then it just keeps going. So there's such like an excitement, and I think it's great in terms of, I guess, the range of partners that we work with.
Yeah.
That I guess they share the enthusiasm. So I think it's like a snowball now, where it's kind of just building like a really...
Well, it certainly looks that way. Yeah. I mean, you've got also... I mean, the other thing you've got on forthcoming, you've got, is it the Yoski collaboration?
Yeah. Shout out Yoski. So I think we've worked
Yoski, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, no worries.
Well, we'll hashtag that. We'll link that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, amazing. So it's actually a couple. They run like a brand, and they've got 2 stores in Camden and Mayfair. And we've kind of worked with them from 2018, but I guess this is a really exciting project where we're coming together and obviously creating these like hoodies.
Is this?
Yeah. So this is one of the pieces from the upcoming collection.
Right.
And I guess we really share the values in terms of peace, love, and community.
So on you got poison.
Yeah.
Hold that up to the camera. Can we get that up?
Yeah, sure.
See that?
So it's
just like that. Poison. There we go.
Poison. Yeah. So I guess it's the idea of your passion. I guess your passion when you're kind of pursuing it, at what point does it kind of turn into like a self-inflicting poison? So it's kind of just navigating.
Damn. I mean, I think as an artist, I think that certainly rings true for a lot of experience. I mean, yeah, your passion can be a poison if you get tunnel vision, or if you lose perspective.
Facts.
Or if you lose focus.
Yeah.
It's incredibly insightful.
Yeah, no, it's deep, man. It's deep, and I think just keeping the right people around you,
for sure,
in terms of pursuing that passion and not isolating yourself. I guess that's quite like a reoccurring theme.
I think
sometimes with
so.
artists. Like,
I mean, it's all very well living in an echo chamber and assuring ourselves that we're right because everyone's telling us we're right. But what we really have to do is go out there in the world and say, actually meet people who might not necessarily share our views.
Facts.
Right? Because that's the way we learn.
Yeah. No, agreed, man. Most definitely.
And that's why what you said, about perspective and everything really, really resonated with me. So I think that's, that's a great message.
Yeah.
And that's what are we not about here if not sending out a great message?
Yeah.
And encouraging people to get involved. And that's, part of CLT. That's the part of Voices. That's part of what you do.
Yeah.
That's the game.
Yeah. No, definitely really resonated with like you guys' message, and I think there's so much power in that communication and like empowering voices and the conversation as well. So
absolutely,
no, it's powerful.
And with this series is Visionary Voices, so that would make you a visionary. So don't let it go to your head, though.
Okay. Yeah.
So then the next thing you got in your list of forthcoming projects is your Blue Chips wearable art collection. Is that something I've seen yet, or is that
yeah?
New?
So I think that so the Aqua Paris was like the debut of it, but it's like a private.
Is that the jackets?
Yeah, so that was like the debut. So it's like a selection of them, but I guess we made like 100. So it was just now this launch is so they're available online.
Yeah.
Through our website, unaji.co.com, but they're also going to launch in store in Mayfair at Yoski.
Right. Okay. So it's all sort of kind of like you're bringing all the collaborations together, kind of.
Yeah. So it's like people can really experience like and like kind of pick up different pieces that all connect together. So yeah, and I think blue chips as a concept is like, I think when you think about blue chips, whether it's in like, I guess, casinos or like even just as
blue chip stocks, I would think. It's my immediate thought is in terms of, I think of Wolf of Wall Street, but you know, just sort of your traditional high value stocks, Yes,
sir. So it's like, I think you want to kind of encourage people that by engaging.
Sorry, I've got a bit of a street cleaner going past situation. This is the hazard of filming at night. Sorry, sorry. Carry on.
Featuring the street cleaner, right?
Let's see what he's got to say. Yeah.
So I guess it's like people are investing in that as a stock, as an idea, like a family heirloom as well. Like we kind of want the pieces to exist through generations, really. So
absolutely,
there's a real like sustainability kind of,
as opposed to disposable fashion. Like that's, I mean, for the last sort of 20 years or so, that's been the thing, isn't it? Primark and sort of cheap disposable fashion.
Facts.
It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
We've seen that. That's again, you're very much built on principles. Everything seems like everything you're doing.
Appreciate that, man.
So it's really, really great to see somebody who's so hot on their principles doing so well.
Thank you.
So what I'd really like to ask you now about is sort of your business and sort of how. When did you start your degree? 2017.
Yeah, 2017, and then I guess I did a year at Ravensbourne,
right,
doing fashion design, and then took a gap year. Did some modelling, traveling.
You did modelling beforehand, right?
Yeah. So I guess that was a great experience in terms of like seeing like high-end brands, and I think just even navigating in terms of networking was a great year of understanding like production, like working with Gucci, British GQ, to Adidas.
Big names.
Yeah, and I think great experiences. And I guess the traveling was always good. And I think with modeling, you genuinely meet the diversity in the people you meet is insane.
Yeah.
So I think that was just it was inspiring, and I think even till today, like I think that journey inspires a lot of the drawings and illustrations that kind of just leap out of the subconscious.
So you've gone from that place of being you're a model, and you were sort of on that end of the creative spectrum, and now you've gone very much into the other side, sort of the producer side, the artist side, and the business side. So tell me about what it's been like for you building a brand and creating a USP from your initial vision. I'd really like to hear about that, because I mean, I ask different people about it, but it really differs for different people. And so, what's your take? What's it been like for you?
I think, ironically, always has to start with your passion, and I think what your core kind of values are. And I think that is always that, again, I think the idea of innovation, and I think starting with making something out of nothing. And I think, so you have that initial excitement internally, and then I guess I always use the analogy of sport. So it's like you want to kind of now create, you got to take the rugby ball over the line, right? So I think sometimes you need to now share that initial kind of spark that inspired you. So I think that's where the creativity comes in, like how you now kind of communicate with people, and I think that
because it has to be something that resonates.
Yes, and I think that's where the challenge comes, and I think you kind of have to be honest. Where like you meet some people and it's like that doesn't mean anything to them, that doesn't align with their perspective on the world, and then so you kind of experience different extremes. That maybe someone is overzealous and they kind of align with what you think, but it's like, but how is this constructive? Like, how are we kind of forming something that people can experience on either end of the spectrum?
And this is where passion can become poison, because you can take the wrong direction in something. You can get hyper focused in the wrong direction.
Yeah. So I think it was about finding the balance in terms of like how to make something that was just initially like a sketchbook, something quite frivolous. Modelling, seeing loads of faces, seeing my own face in print, so just kind of playing around.
That's something that takes a while to get used to. I mean, it's for me. My closest analog is hearing my voice on records. But is that something that took you a while to get used to?
Yeah, but then I guess when you're kind of around people who like, you meet a lot of self-absorbed people. That's like the norm, if that makes sense. In terms
I'm familiar with those people.
Okay, cool. So yeah, like, so you become conscious of that kind of self-absorbed, but then you're like the woke one. But either way, like I think that was even interesting to navigate. So I think that's why the art became such an interesting like avenue of expression. As I can imagine, like in terms of like the platform and visionary voices, in terms of creating that conversation, I think that is what I'd say our USP became. It became generating conversation. So when people wear our clothing, they go out, it creates conversation. Like they are living artwork. And I think that was a major thing. It was like people come to exhibitions, like realistically, they might not be able to afford the artwork.
Sure.
So it's like the connection with fashion became quite natural.
I love that, by the way. And thank you very much for the compliment and the comparison, because I think you're totally right. That's exactly what we're going for. But yeah, you do, because you do have your traditional sort of. When I asked you sort of how you prefer to be dressed, you said fine artist.
Yeah.
Very definite about that.
Yeah, no, fair.
You do have your traditional fine art stuff as well, but you've also you've made it accessible.
Yeah.
Through the wearable art.
And
And your traditional stuff is available through, I believe, is it Acid Gallery?
Yeah, Acid Gallery in Lille, France, and we've got a few pieces with Blur.
So we'll link to those, and we'll stick some images up and some stuff for that as well.
Yes.
And so what is that from an earlier collection, or is it stuff you're currently doing? Is there a link to what you're currently doing?
So yeah, I'd say that was a body of work from everything ranging from 20. Excuse me, more.
It's the cocktails. Yeah, happens. Don't worry about it.
Yes, I think that's previous body of works. I think from anything ranging from 2018 to 2021. Also from like the Hari hotel residency, and then so I think like works on paper, and then I guess we really transition into like works on canvas now in the traditional kind of fine art space.
I've got to say, I haven't actually had the time to check out the stuff on Acid Gallery and your physical works. What is your favourite medium on when it comes to is it on canvas or?
Yeah, I think canvas is like that. It's like that holy grail for fine artists.
Oil on canvas.
Yeah, it's a combination.
Or
I think
acrylic.
Yeah, I think my style really like brings an amalgamation of like mediums.
Yeah.
So it's like mixed media, painting. So yeah, like anything from oil, acrylic, pastel. I like the combination of textures.
Yeah. I hear this a lot from artists.
Yeah.
It's funny. Tactility.
Oh man. Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge thing for artists, especially painters.
Yeah.
I have a friend, an ex-girlfriend of mine who was a painter, and she used to just like painting on brick walls, just that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not a painter myself.
Yeah.
But I can sort of understand that, I think, on a visceral level.
Yes, sir.
But you get that sort of response from something.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I think with art, I love the analogy of music and sound. Yeah. So it's almost like the inflections that a musician would kind of put in their voice.
Absolutely. To
kind of evoke emotion. So it's like when your eyes are tracing the canvas, like, it does something to us in like a subconscious like way. So anything that kind of creates different textures, color, it's just it's an amazing place to be. So I think that's over the years it's become a very precious process to kind of step into that very sacred.
I love that. I mean, you talked about sort of combining music with art. I mean, I think people underestimate how much of a synesthesiac sort of element there is, and a relationship between music and art, and how much the two can really sort of, when combined, can really lift each other.
Definitely.
I mean, we think of synesthesia traditionally as sort of people who see color as sound, or vice versa, or whatever. But no, it's very. I'm really looking forward to seeing some of what you do with that, and how you combine that.
No, thank you, man.
With your installations, etc. So back to I wanted to come back to the business stuff. So you you set all this up. When was the initial business set up?
So I think we initially like registered in 2017, but I think we kind of went through a process of like obviously uni. We had to really do like the academic stuff and I guess reinforce ourselves in terms of knowing things factually and just intellectually.
Yep.
But I'd say that like 2020 was like the real kind of like marker in the ground, and where we were like taking our experience to market.
So you started this, and then you had your eye on something, and you sort of dug in, and then you went to study something. Because that's so different to what a lot of people do. Is they go, "Oh, I'm going to go study something, and then I'll find something." Whereas you exactly kind of, it sounds to me like you had sort of a vision and like a something in mind, and then you went to study what you thought would enable you to do that. Is that accurate?
Yeah, no, definitely, and I think that's why. We're kind of nerds in terms when it comes to like.
Hey like man, that's nothing wrong with being a nerd.
Yeah, no,
all for nerds.
Yeah, you know, facts like in terms of like the write up and like the synopsis behind like the thinking.
Yeah.
So it's like we like that combination of like it looks cool, but then there's depth to it. So I think in terms of a business, like the university was like the theory.
Yep.
And we made a conscious decision of like experimenting with the practical and putting that theory to test at every given opportunity.
And I guess also just that experience of going to a university, especially in sort of West London, and having applying your sort of your meta narrative or your worldview to that, and seeing what the response would be was an interesting test as well.
Most definitely, yeah. And I think I'd always encourage like any creative, like whatever your medium is, like don't be discouraged by, I guess, your ideas and perspective being knocked and rocked.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it. I think it really...
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how can you, if you can't be challenged, then how can you withstand the storm, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So I think that was like one of the main skills I'd say I developed from university. Like every crit was like my favourite moment where like I'd have someone how many years older than me just completely ripping apart my ideas and just challenging me, and it's like you either back down or you double up on it, and a thing of like, no, like this is what I believe in, this is what this means, and then you kind of end the conversation in a way of like there's a mutual respect, but in the same breath refine it like this.
That's right, because it's like a golden mean, isn't it? You've got to be in the middle there somewhere, because you've got to take feedback.
Yeah.
And you got to, I think criticism is good for us, and it's good for, especially if you're at university in that setting, whatever. But at the same time, as an artist, as a creative, you've got to stand your ground, and you're going to have this vision. Yeah. But you don't want to be arrogant. You don't want to sort of create stuff if you're not taking things on board. Yeah. So it's getting that in balance.
Facts.
And to me, you seem like a very humble guy.
Thank you, man.
Especially considering everything you've done. I mean, astonishingly humble compared to a lot of people in your position that I've met. So I mean, I'm going to give you major props for that.
No, I appreciate it, man.
But that's really, really impressive. So you started the brand around 2017. You went to uni. When did it sort of start to flow properly?
I'd say that so we made like a sample. So literally, this is where the frugal element comes in. Just having a artwork. So now I've done the artwork and then put it onto the jacket for the first time. Had the sample by myself. So we've gone out now to an event, and then I guess connected with a store in Soho, and I think that today, so the store owner made a connection. So we just immediately just kind of started collaborating. So I think that was like the commercial litmus test. Yeah. It, I guess, we no marketing, anything like that. There was just an absolute like explosion, like behind the scenes. Like it was just flying. Like we couldn't produce it fast enough.
Wow, really?
So yeah, like
what a great problem to have.
Yeah, it was. So then it was like, okay, so we know it's viable.
Yeah, viable and valuable. Both.
Yeah. But then I guess our challenge internally became production. Like, how do we now produce at rate? And
this business stuff is something that artists traditionally aren't sort of equipped to deal with, and I've seen this in music as well. It's like as soon as something sort of hits a critical mass, it's like, damn, you have to think about production, you have to think about procurement,
Yes.
and you have to think about where we're sourcing things, how do we keep costs down,
etc. Most definitely. So I think that was an experience. So it's like, I think you very quickly, I think business matures anyone in terms of like, you just have to think economically. Like, you have to weigh up your resources, where I feel like sometimes creatives and definitely models, it's just frivolous. So it's like, but then it looks good.
Because having been someone who just focuses on that, I appreciate you're not exposed to that back end.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't take the risk, but you don't get the full reward either.
Facts. So I think so our minds immediately kind of shifted, and I think that so our focuses became different, and I guess our goals became different in terms of like now just that managing the resources, production, marketing, distribution. And I think that we just started to think differently, and obviously we allowed ourselves to go through the process of university to reinforce our ideas, and then I guess making connections like gradually, and then I'd say 2020 was like a real kind of step out into the market.
And blimey, what a time to step out into the market.
Yeah. So which again, I think ironically, the main word that came out of that was resilience. So it was almost like
resilience is an excellent word.
Yeah,
and one that resounds with me a lot when I'm talking about business. Please carry on.
So I think you can only compare it to like Jon Snow and like the Night's Watch. Like,
well, winter is coming.
Yeah,
winter's here right now.
Right now. So we just had to kind of just keep going, right? We just kept going, and I think so many things. I guess that was when ASIC, you just get an email, and like.
Did you say that you pivoted?
I think so. We had the structure, so I think we kind of made like a strategy. So I think creatively, the art is supposed to disseminate into like commercial avenues, and then so I think it was amazing to kind of have. It's almost like opening your shop, and then you get the first customer, and it's like, wow. And then you get the second customer, and then you kind of, it was that kind of, so it was on maybe like the service side of the business. I think that the clients were kind of coming through. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that connection with France, momentum, and then I think the Hari Hotel, great shout out to our Ultra, Alice Black. And I think these were two things, and then we went into Box Park. So it was
which one in Shoreditch? Or
Box Park Shoreditch. So I think, I guess we're kind of now, the art's being made in the Hari Hotel in Belgraven, and we've got like the clothing.
It's being made there?
Yeah. So it's like a 5-week residency with like a 7th month exhibition in like a 5-star luxury hotel in
very cool.
Yeah, Belgravia. So I think again that's the beauty of fine art as well, like in terms of like the way it kind of just exists in like society, and like the opportunities and the conversations.
Well, I think that may be true, but I think you might be slightly putting yourself down here because those opportunities certainly exist, but they don't exist for everybody, and there are a lot of fine artists out there. So I think you've got to give yourself a lot of credit for going out and grabbing them, man.
No, appreciate it, man.
No, seriously, that's. I mean, honestly, I'm blown away by how much you've just like. You're talking about 5-star hotels in Mayfairs, yeah. Oh, fine art, yeah, that's the beauty of it. Well, no, not for most people, it's not. No. Give yourself some credit.
I appreciate it, man.
I mean, and so going through all of this and sort of reaching critical mass, as I said, you got a strong team around you.
Yeah, definitely, and I think I couldn't like shout out my brother enough in terms of like his vision, and like Lemuel, I guess just his perspective is just so unique.
Yeah.
And I think the way that because one thing to deliver something, and it's one thing to kind of see it and then tell the story of it.
When you say deliver, you mean like the conceptually, or like?
I think like you make the artwork now, you put it in.
Deliver the artwork.
Yeah,
like
you deliver.
You finish a piece.
Yeah, you deliver the piece, and then it's like it's in the space. You do the private view, and obviously with art, of course, everything's.
But that's no
private.
good if nobody's seeing it.
Naturally, so I think. The fashion, I guess, just his like sense of trend, and like I guess with different ages, I guess that's the beautiful thing as well. It's like he just has a his eye on like different trends and like what's happening. And I think
it's good to delegate these things. I mean, not delegate. I mean, I think delegate's the right word.
Yeah,
it's just accept like that one person can't do everything.
Most definitely.
Not necessarily, or you can try. You can share responsibilities.
Yeah,
but it's always good to have a partner and a strong team around you.
Yeah. No, agreed. And I think
as we talk about community.
Yeah,
none of this can exist in a vacuum.
Yeah. No, of course. And I think that's definitely one of Lemuel's strengths. I think in terms of like friends and collaborators, like and like nurturing those kind of relationships. A lot of our the people that we work with really come from Lemuel's network. So I think that's the synergy. I think it's great kind of synergy in creative storytelling and sound, and that just giving things like a vibe. Because I think that I like to put it as like image and sound.
I think when you say vibe, it's like it's something you can't really put into words, is it? And that's like with the combination of visuals and music, it's something there's a good, I think it's called a word for it would be ineffable. Indescribable.
Yeah, most definitely.
That's why it's something that's impossible to teach somebody. So you might have gone to university and studied this, but you already have those fundamentals on the ground.
Yeah.
And okay, maybe there's opportunities there, but you were the one who went out and grabbed them.
Yeah.
And that is why I think, for my audience, what's most inspiring from all about this is it's you two.
No, I appreciate that.
It's you two. It's the fact that you went out there and got that. And I think if I'd love you to just sort of, if there's anything else you have to sort of, any wisdom or experience you can impart on that, and because I think that is the one thing that creative people really struggle with sometimes, is just getting out there and grabbing it, or just going out there and pushing it. What would you say?
I think that so I was an athlete for I guess a lot of my growing up. It's like from track and field to rugby to football. Like, don't be afraid of like getting knocked and just getting stuck in, and so resilience, most definitely. And I think that to make your art is sacred. Like, it's an organic process, like growing a plant. But to take it somewhere is I always compare it to sport. So it's like, don't be afraid to compete with just yourself. Like, set internal goals in terms of what you want to see and what you want to see for yourself. Be it, I want to see. Just set your goals, whether they're too big or they're too small. Just find the middle ground, and I think take a lot of joy with like kind of reaching targets and then setting new ones.
Take joy.
Yeah, and I think love the process. I think sometimes we can suffocate ourselves out of like the reason we even made art in the first place, because we're so tunnel visioned in like achieving. So it's like, it's just finding that equilibrium.
I love what you said there a second ago. I didn't want to interrupt you because you're flying, but you said don't get too big. And sometimes people say dream big, but I think there is such a thing as not being realistic.
Most definitely.
And maybe that's one of the key differentials there.
Yeah.
And I think I've got time for one final thing just before we call it a day. So I just wanted to mention the international exhibition you've got coming up in the summer.
Yeah. So I think we're so it was really cool gallery in Lagos. I think we're working towards really excited to get back into canvas, working on a body of work as we speak. And I think that I think the concepts are going to really draw for like I guess a combination of like lived experience and I guess like celebrity culture, and I think it's gonna be a real like really interesting story. So I think that I think that's what we're currently working on, and in addition to obviously all of like the fashion drops, and really really excited about.
Fantastic. Well, as I said, we'll pop some stuff on the videos and social media and stuff about that. I just want to thank you for coming in so much. Thank you, Emmanuel Unaji. It's been great to have you in here, my friend.
Yeah, absolute pleasure.
Really good to meet you, and to your brother as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, bless.
And stay tuned. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already to the Voices YouTube channel. This is Visionary Voices with myself, Benedict Gibbon, and Emmanuel Unaji. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Sick.